Hari Om, Hari Om. There's a lot of background noise from the stone cutters. I hope that doesn't disturb too much and you can hear me clearly in spite of that. So let's start with the conversation. Is anybody ready? You want to come in? Start.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya, Shridev, hello.
Hello. I would like to ask, how is it possible to realize the truth of what we are for a while? And after that recognition, the identification is coming back. Finally, how does identification drop away?
We can get the taste of what it is when we are not identified, and yet the identification is not completely removed. It is possible that we get quite a clear perception of the essence, and yet that it is still temporary, that somehow the time is not right, that somehow your body is not ready to sustain that experience. And then it's like a protective mechanism that the old takes over again and slowing down the energy to get the nervous system a respite that it can that it can somehow relax again. How exactly this functions, frankly, I cannot tell you. If that happens, then don't worry, don't think that you made a mistake, that somehow you were there and then maybe because of a mistake you fell out of it again. It's simply not in your hands to decide, now I'm going to stay there. So if that happens, then you come back to your meditation, you come back to connecting as good as you can, opening. How does it then finally disappear? It's an act of grace. It's not something that can be done. We can just present ourselves and come back to that as good as we can again and again. And then it happens. But even if that identification is cut, that it will not be able to completely dilute our mind again, that we are identified, and a little speck of identification will be there as long as the body exists. In certain moments, in a deep absorption, that may go away, and after that it comes back just enough. Somehow it's necessary to be able to play our role, to continue to play our role in this world. But it won't be able to bind anymore. But the shift from where it overtakes again completely, or to that state where it's not more capable of binding, is not something that we can do. It's not a trick that we have to learn and then finally we are capable of doing it. It's more when that readiness is there, when that cosmic will is agreeable, then it happens. But it happens to people who keep on making themselves available by connecting, coming back again and again. sometimes having the grace of staying with that so fully, and yet again the whole story takes over, the identification comes back. But if we continue, if we don't give up because of that, then the moment will come that it simply doesn't happen anymore. But it will not take over to a point that we are losing that perspective. After that, our life will go on. We play a role. Sometimes it may be externally very agitated. Sometimes it may be quiet. But even when it's agitated, deep down, there's always that awareness. You, what you are, the essence, is not affected by any of this. It's not a mechanism that we can learn. It's not a technique that we can learn. And when we have mastered it, then finally we won't get identified anymore. We can just come back to that, dive into that as good as we can. And it's totally a matter of grace that lies beyond any personal volition or doership, that this will be removed.
And how to attract this grace?
How to?
To attract this grace.
By doing what you are doing. by continue, not letting in your life your mind go all over the place all the time, unchecked, but try to be conscious here, now, in one way or another, with technique, without technique, it doesn't matter. Just find one way or another to connect, to reconnect and reconnect again, and relax in that. That's the invitation. It's not a special prayer we have to make for grace to please come. It's simply to be connected as good as we can with the essence. Remind ourselves again and again to come back at least little moments, then we forget again, then come back, remember, connect as good as we can, and let go in that, relax in that as good as we can. That's the invitation. Whether it's more by way of jnana, more by way of yoga, more by way of devotion, bhakti, or a combination. Whether we completely develop our own approach, our own yoga, or go on a traditional way, that doesn't really matter. What matters is our sincerity. That sincerity, do not just think spiritually something we can do, okay, let's do it for 15 minutes in the morning and in the evening, and the rest of the time forget about it, and be so totally absorbed in the me, I thought, in the me, I feeling, and act from there. But the invitation is by remembering as good as we can. Whenever the memory comes and we see how we are disconnected with our attention from that quiet, from that aspect that is not affected, then reconnect again. That's the invitation.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hariom.
Mariam.
Is there anybody else who would like to say something?
Hi, it's Udi.
Hello, Udi.
I would like to continue what you have started and said, that sometimes, at least I see it in myself, that in order to prevent wandering around in my mind and my thought, I divided things to right and wrong.
Uh-huh.
And this is a judgmental thing to do right and wrong things. But my question is, can we ignore this type of behavior? Can we use something else? Can we have different way to think about things than to divide them from right and wrong?
There's absolutely nothing wrong basically with dividing things in right and wrong, as long as it is not becoming a moral issue. Let's define right and wrong. If we think right is everything that helps you connect. If you think right is that, can you still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Because I think I see my picture frozen there. But you can still hear me good. Okay. If we label right everything, the way we act, the way we feel, the way we interact with other people, the way we react, if it doesn't disturb our awareness of the essence, if it doesn't pull us away, if you call that right, then it's not a moral issue, but you simply see what is useful and what harms you. And if we say wrong, is everything the way we behave, the way we feel, the way we react, that creates that sense of separation, makes that sense of separation stronger, makes us more fall into that identification with the role, the person that we are playing. And then somebody write something. My image is frozen, but the sound is good. Well, I don't know whether I can do something about it or whether it's starting again. Anyhow, let me continue what I'm talking.
Even morality is sometimes creating a question is something that is coming from my religious background, my environmental background. It's very easy to see things that is right or moral in one society, and it's different. I wouldn't say not moral in another society.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that it's not look to me so stable always. I would like it to be.
Right, but of course there are the few basic rules. The basic rules which are always the same, which also are not really something moral, but have in the tradition through time become moral rules. But the basic rules is what I have been talking about, what helps you to connect and what disturbs that connection that we call bad or wrong. But as soon as we get moralistic about it, then we start also to judge. Then the judgmentality comes in. Then I judge myself all the time. Now, this is good, this is bad. I'm a good boy, I'm a bad boy, and looking out and judging everybody else and their behavior. But if we let that drop, then of course we have our conditioning from the society where we grew up, where certain rules are there, where we are told this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. But then it's still all the time, from moment to moment, a deep feeling, if we start to listen to that in ourselves, whether this is right or this is wrong. It may be colored by our upbringing, by our conditioning, but it's more powerful. It's going deeper than the conditioning. If we learn to listen to that, then we learn to be in harmony with ourselves, at peace with ourselves. And if we are at peace with ourselves, then it doesn't matter so much what is happening outside. We can somehow Always deal with it in a relatively harmonious way. Just don't make a moral issue out of it. Just learn to understand right as what connects you, and, and wrong what creates obstacles to that clear connection with the self, with beingness, with the timelessness of the now. Then it's practical, a practical, useful tool, and doesn't disturb that seeing right and wrong.
It's a practical tool for me to understand that there is a primarily truth or basic truth, but we are living in a society, we are surrounded by other,
Yeah,
and the feeling that your belief are not accepted create inside of you a lot of questions.
uh-huh. Well, you need not go and tell everybody your beliefs. You just act with them. If somebody is interested, you can very well tell them. You can discuss, and it's not necessary that everybody always should agree to that. If you learn to be at peace with yourself and your belief system, then it doesn't matter so much whether others accept it or not. It's only when we are insecure and ask for confirmation from outside that it's creating troubles. Then that we want to tell our beliefs and we want the feedback from the others that they say, yes, it's right, it's good so. As long as we are expecting that, then of course we are always opening up to difficulties. So make yourself firm in yourself, that you are at peace and harmony with yourself. And then it doesn't matter so much whether what you are believing, what you are thinking is so much in harmony with the general mainstream in the society. You still will be able to harmoniously deal with your day-to-day life without necessarily tuning in to the usual general mainstream. You can live your role in the world and somehow be not of the world.
So can I say that if I have a feeling of be able to relax in my presence, in my present existence, it's okay with me?
Yes, it's perfectly okay with you. that's the most helpful thing that you can do. And stay with that as good as you can, also in your activities. Also with people who think and feel and act quite differently, and then still you can move with them. Actually, it's much easier if we are not creating conflict in ourselves. It's much easier to move with people who are full of conflicts. If we bring our own conflicts in it, then usually it's getting worse.
I must first say thank you, and I would share it that even in my daily work at my profession, that I had to confront with decision making and things about me and about other people.
Yeah.
I truly found that the sense of being relaxed in this present moment is a very, very helpful guide for my life.
Good, great. That's wonderful. Continue like this.
So thank you so much.
You are welcome. Well, I'll try whether I can do something about this picture.
The picture is not working. The
Yeah,
sound is okay.
something? Yes. I don't know whether anybody can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Ah,
we
yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you still see anything?
No.
Flowers.
No.
No.
Yeah, something doesn't work here on this side. The computer has some
Now
issues.
it's working. It's working.
You're
It's what
back.
it was working.
It was working.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there
Now
we are.
it's
Now.
working.
There you are.
There we are back.
Yay.
All right. I think I talked to Andreas. Have you just come in for that issue, or did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Hello.
Hello, Hadio.
Hello.
Is now a little bit the voice better because last time it was so loud?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. Okay, super. It's also allowed to comment because the last discussion I found very inspiring, especially also because I'm a lot at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was by me spontaneous coming up was where I was, or we all were in school. That's normally that there are a lot of different, groups and meanings and confrontation and whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
But in the end, when we was like in a football game or whatever, everything was united naturally together,
Yes.
even if we have totally different positions.
Yes.
And even if I was like seeing that I get different positions, like with 12 or 13, I wanted to become a grufti. You know this? The gruftis, the people who was putting like the black clothes on and hearing Cure. You are a hippie.
No, I don't know.
It's like a little bit like punks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
I think I was already out of the picture at that time. The 80s, I didn't know what was going on in this world.
Yeah. But it was a little bit like a punk, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But a little bit darker, like that.
Uh-huh.
But I remember that it helps me a lot, like, okay, to realize, okay, I'm not have exactly the same meaning like the other people, and I don't must put a big harmony around me, and everybody must have the same thinking or meaning like me.
Right.
In the end, I just was okay going into myself and grounding my beliefs, who was in somewhat also a little bit spiritual,
Yeah.
because it was not the mainstream, a little bit, and so and that works quite good also for the other people. And now, okay, I'm older, and daily it's normal that there are people who have completely different meanings than myself. But it's quite easy also to stay inside and not to be always completely in harmony with the other. The harmony it's much deeper. If we carry on, if we look that we really serve the other or help the other.
Yes.
So it doesn't must create such a great confusion if something, like going completely in an opposite, like we or the other don't have the same meaning or so. Yeah. That was just spontaneous, like, and it's even, I mean, it's an experience what we have from start on in school. And even a child can manage it easy in a way, you know, just, yeah, to balance it out. Yeah, that was just a comment.
Right. Right. I'm talking a lot. I'm often using the sentence, if you are at peace, if you are in harmony with yourself. But then you can also be more in harmony with the surroundings, with the other people. That doesn't mean we have to adjust to anybody's ideas, but we can keep our ideas and then play our role with people who have totally different ideas and are in a totally different mental stream. And in that sense, we are in harmony with them. Harmony doesn't mean everybody has to say yes and no to the same thing. It's just that we can peacefully do our thing even with people who are quite strange to our belief system, to our way of thinking, to our way of feeling, to our way of acting, that we can accept, okay, that they are as they are, and then deal with them accordingly. Then the harmony is there, even if we are acting very different. Harmony doesn't mean that everybody acts the same.
Yeah, and also what is wonderful is often when other people act not like we expect,
Yeah.
and they react to us, so there is always the possibility, like when you don't know how to act, because with friends or this, it's easy to answer or to act, but when you get a little bit of confrontation, there comes a little bit of a space where you maybe don't know how to act. You know?
Yeah.
You are a little bit confronted, and especially in this moment, it's a wonderful opportunity just to completely calm the mind down, come down to earth, and look what's coming down from you or from your side.
Exactly.
It's really, really wonderful to come there in the present and see the other and wonder, how can I react, or how I will do. And mostly something bubbles up, and if we have the right attitude, maybe we can also calm the situation down, or even harmonize in the right way, or even like it can be to say, no, I think it's like that. And the other say then after, hey, thank you that you helped me to check this. Yeah, it's a great opportunity also. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, wonderful.
That's exactly also what Udi at the end said. It helps him that the capacity that is increasing just to be in the present and relax.
Exactly. Yeah,
And then when you're functioning from that perspective, it comes spontaneously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hariom.
Yo.
Is there anybody else who would like to say something? Yeah, seems to function okay now. If nobody immediately comes in, then I'll talk about faith. Marie, who is putting all this stuff up on faith on YouTube, all these clips from last January. She wrote me because she cannot be with us during the satsang. It's like when we start, it's 2:30 in the morning. But she asked me to talk about faith. There's that example, for example, of Nisargadatta Maharaj. He heard from his guru a teaching, and he had such a total faith. He just didn't doubt it. And that helped him to go in extremely short time through all his stuff until it really fell off of him. Now Barry asks, how can we develop faith like this? What can we do to have a faith like this? Actually, we cannot artificially produce such a intense and pure faith. We can't just start where we are. What we need is to have enough faith to make the first step. And if we make the first step, the faith comes for the second step. And if we make the second step, the faith comes to make the third step. That's how it goes. I mean, Nisargadatta, he was a simple man. He was brought up in a village, hardly educated. Then he came to Bombay, starting to make beedis and trading his beedi business. A family man, looking after the family, but very practical, but very simple at the same time. And for him, it just made totally sense. When he met his guru, and after some time his guru told him, you are not what you think you are. You are not the person you think you are. You are that deathless, birthless, deathless, timeless, spaceless, beingness. It made for him so totally sense that the guru knows what he's talking about. He doesn't have any benefit from telling me lies, so he didn't question it. He just swallowed it wholeheartedly and focused on that. Focused on his guru's teaching, or then he focused simply on that sense, I am. And it carried him through his old way of functioning within some 3 years that already the first big falling off happened to him. We cannot artificially produce such a purity of purpose like Nisargadatta had. We just have to accept we are where we are. Our mind functions the way it functions, but from here we can open up as good as we can. And everybody who is here on this satsang, everybody who is on the spiritual path has a certain amount of faith. Otherwise, we wouldn't even try. Otherwise, we wouldn't even start to really look deeper. What we can do is to examine, to observe our mind. And when that questioning mind comes, that doubting mind comes, instead of encouraging it and always find arguments after arguments after arguments that somehow puts everything in question, that helps us, there we can just make a stop and say, hey, come on, let's be reasonable. Just make a step, try it out, make the next step, try it, and then you will start to experience something which gives you enough faith to continue. We cannot just decide, okay, from now on, I'm having that pure faith. Such a decision may help us to open the heart, but the fact will still be there that the old habits will creep in again and again. And most of us have that little demon there that is always doubting and wanting to put things into question and want us to discourage to even try. And when we see that that we can do something about it. We can stop and say, what harm can it be? Even if finally maybe what I now believe, what I heard is not true, if I don't try, I'll never find out. If I try, I may find out the truth for myself. And so the faith comes. We have to have the faith to start. And once we start, we immediately will start to also feel some changes. Certain things may start to drop off. Some things may become easier. And with that, the faith comes to continue. And as in continuing, the faith will become firmer. That's how it goes. Faith is absolutely needed. Without faith, we cannot do anything. Even for the most ordinary worldly thing, to step in a train, you have to have faith in the technique, in the rails. We have to have faith that this train can bring us from point A to point B. And it's not. We have the faith that it's going to happen, that there is not going to be an accident, otherwise we wouldn't get into the train. If we don't have faith, certain faith, we cannot do anything. And so it's with our spiritual search, with spiritually going deeper, we can have enough faith to start, to try. And then, with starting, the faith comes to continue. And with continuing, the faith is there to continue further. Because everybody who sincerely tries will still sometimes not be happy that the old habits are still so strong, that they are still there, that they are, after all the attempts of going deeper, they're still overtaking again. But at the same time, everybody will feel that if I start to sincerely turn the attention back to the source, back to the self, to the timelessness of the present, if I start to spend every day some time just peaceful by myself, not doing anything, being alert, being conscious, being here, being now, and learn to relax in that, everybody will start to notice differences, that the burden that we are carrying along may get lighter. And with that experience, the faith comes to continue. All we need is to have enough faith, enough sense of adventure to start. And then the faith comes all by itself. Internet connection is not good. I hope you can still hear me. Anyhow, I stop now babbling. Is there anybody who wants to come in? Please come in.
Werner?
Hello, Andrea.
Hi. You have given us many times the teaching that when there is difficult emotion, we should just let it be and observe it and disidentify.
Yes.
And I've been with this practice, and I noticed that indeed, even the strongest of emotion, if looked at properly, can take one to this very deep watchfulness and silence.
Yes.
But this rarely happens, and what I'm experiencing is that most of the time it can be even hours of just sitting, just drowning in pain, and I just want to know if it's still something that I should just suck it up and, drown in pain for as many hours as necessary until this change of perspective happens, or if I'm doing something wrong and I'm just going into masochism.
No, you don't have to go and totally drown in your pain, but it's true. If we don't resist negative emotions, if we open up to them, then for a moment they can actually become stronger. That the experience of that emotion can become even stronger. And then try not to be afraid, but let it happen. But then there is a limit where it makes sense. If it's just getting worse and worse and worse, then you are perfectly right for the time being. Say, okay, for right now, this is enough, and redirect the attention to something else. Keep your mind busy with something else. Do something that you like to do, or go and walk and let it dissipate, or do something that helps the tension to dissipate. One has to find a bit then the point how much makes sense and how much where it's simply becoming masochistic. But then you can then you can in another session again consciously say, okay, now let me not resist and let that pain come. And maybe that time it's not getting so big that you're feeling totally drowned, even if it's not pleasant as an experience. You may just see and then redirect the attention from the pain itself also to what is it doing right now? How is it? Just observe, how is it affecting the body? What is it doing in the body? What is it doing energetically? If you look like this, then already something in you is a little bit detaching from the situation. And if you do that, then you start to gradually see it becomes so overwhelming because I'm taking myself so serious in the whole story. And there comes the whole self-importance and self-pity thing in that has the tendency to make any pain bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we can see that, then maybe there we can step out and just not fight the pain, observe the pain, but not more from a poor little me position, but simply observe and see what it is doing. And then the tendency is that after some time it's easing up because you don't feed it anymore. We feed it with our identification with it, with our resistance to something in our story that brought the pain about. That we hold on to that feeling, it shouldn't have happened, it shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't have happened, it shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't happen to me, poor me. And the more we hold on to that, the bigger and bigger and bigger it becomes. But if we can step back and just observe the pain, the feeling, the experience right now. What is it doing right now, physically, energetically? What is it doing to my thoughts? And then somehow learn to relax also, not to fight with it. Then it may, for a moment, it may appear it's getting worse because you become even more aware that it's there, but then it's not getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That bigger and bigger and bigger is happening when we keep on going on about it in that old mechanism. This has happened to me and this is a bad thing and it's painful and it shouldn't be like this and totally resist against the fact that things have happened the way they happened. A situation is the way it is. And any amount of resisting doesn't change the situation. It just makes us more miserable. So we are very well advised to learn to accept, okay, I don't like it necessarily, it's not what I wanted, but this is the situation as it is. It's a fact. It's not an ultimate fact, but it's a momentary fact of my experience. And fighting against the fact always makes us more miserable. Accept the situation as good as you can, as it is. and then observe the emotions that come as a result of the situation. And when that poor little meeting comes in, there you can put the brake and say, no, I'm not going down that alley now. It doesn't bring me anywhere. It feels, in a way, for the mind, for the me, for the personality, it feels comforting if we go in that poor little meeting. But if we just step a little step back and look at it, then we can see so clearly it always brings us suffering, more suffering. And that's what we don't want. Why? Nobody wants to suffer. Why? Because it's not natural. Our natural state is to be at ease, at peace, happy, joyous, and express that joyousness of existence. So when you deal with pain and you just observe, and then it's becoming more and more and more, bigger and bigger, then maybe at that time you're just losing the clarity, and it's perfectly valid that for some time you just redirect your attention in doing something, in going somewhere, in doing something that you like, just do for the moment, that you ease up the thing. And then you come back to that observation when it has calmed down a bit. And it may happen again, but each time you do for some time that observation, and after that it seems to get out of hand, and then you say, okay, enough for now. I just have to go and take a walk, have to go and do something, have to go and eat an ice cream, and do something. Then the time is to
it's after this.
The time up to that point, you have done the good work and have already released some of the intensity of it. And then eventually you will be capable of just stick it out, watch it, see what it is doing, relaxing it, and it starts to dissipate, and the whole situation starts to look differently.
It's just strange because sometimes this point when you describe when it's just too much and you're in the eye of that storm, like this seems to be what actually takes us to this absolutely spaceful watchfulness. And so that's my doubt, you know, when this big storm comes, if I should stay or not. But I guess it's
stay if you can. Stay if you can. And if you reach a point where you feel it's just too much, for right now I can't bear, then you have the right to say, okay, I'm not right now. You have already done a good work coming up to that point.
It was more the thought of this is masochism and I'm doing something wrong than not being able to take it. But okay.
No, it's not masochism.
And
looking at the pain,
not going away,
looking at the pain and accepting it, and not getting totally overwhelmed by it, has nothing to do with masochism. It simply
if I'm getting overwhelmed.
If you're getting overwhelmed, then at a certain point you stop it. You say, okay, now I'm doing something else. Now I redirect the attention. I just don't want to confront it right now, and you come back later again.
Because if I'm getting overwhelmed, it means that I'm not truly accepting it, right? Even if I think I'm accepting it, if there is overwhelm, it is because there is resistance. Is this correct?
Right, that is there. But once you are overwhelmed, you may not have that clarity to deal at that moment with it. And then you can accept that, okay, a temporary escape by just redirecting the attention somewhere else in order to calm down a bit, to have a bit more clarity again. But Yes, it is the way to bring you to that deep observing state. If you can accept heavy stuff and watch it. And then if it's getting too big, you can accept, okay, there I'm doing still the old mechanism, and somehow in order to stop, then you may have to do something else in between, and you come back. So
Werner, I'm sorry, the connection dropped and the app closed. Can you
you
hear me now?
didn't hear me?
I heard most of it, but
Yeah.
not the last part. But I will rewatch it so you don't have to repeat it for everyone else.
Yeah. Anyhow, I keep on basically hammering on the same point. And even if you then at that moment think, okay, but it's getting too much because I'm still identifying and I'm going in that self-pity. If that's enough to step a step out, fine. But if you are already too much overwhelmed, then take a break and try again.
Okay.
Yeah?
And is it a good practice to, instead of focus on the pain, try to focus on seeing the resistance to the pain? Is that a...
Right. It's good to see the resistance and let go and relax that. Then you still will see the pain.
Thank you.
I wish you well. Be strong. Huh? Hari Om, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly. Oh, tell me something practical. There is in the background a lot of noise from stone cutting. Does it disturb you? Can you hear?
No,
Ah.
it doesn't disturb at all.
Oh,
It's okay.
Great. Good. So, hello, Nelly.
Hello, Werner. I want to share one thing. I have been watching your last satsang where you told about a meditation, about the grace, and that we can't force the grace to come to us, and that when we meditate, we are preparing a space for the grace, like invitation.
Yeah.
And I saw an image in my mind that it seems to me helped me to understand what you are talking about more clear. I saw it's like a house and a road to the house, and this road is full of stones, and the meditation is this process when we take over the stones from this road, we remove these stones for somebody to come in. So
right.
we are yes. So we are preparing this space, and it doesn't mean that when we prepare this space, this someone will come to us. It doesn't mean like this, but we are just doing our work. We are just doing this.
We are doing our rock work, and then
Yes.
The rest is up to God.
Yes, we are doing it, but at this grace, it comes when it comes, and we don't know when.
Yeah.
Everything we can do is just to prepare this space.
Right. Actually, grace is always there. The very fact that we are here, that we even think of going deeper, that we even make attempts going deeper, is already a manifestation of that grace. It's not that grace is never, there is never a time where that grace is totally absent. But it seems, it is so that within this manifestation, sometimes grace is falling in a certain place intensely, especially. And that we cannot do, we cannot order it, not by any amount of effort, not by any amount of tapas, whatever we are doing. We cannot force that grace, but we can invite it gently. That's all we can do. Remove the rocks on the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me, I tried. I tried to force the grace. I tried to force God. I tried to make create situations thinking that something has to happen now in this situation. All I made in these situations, in this attempt, is a great fool of myself.
Yes.
It's our sincerity that is the invitation. Our sincerity with which we are connecting, that is removing the rocks for the road.
Yes.
And then we just need to have patience. Do our job and have patience. That is the invitation, the best invitation for grace to really strongly manifest.
Yes, I see. May I ask one more question?
Sure.
I just last time I had a difficult situation. I had dialogues with two people to clarify the situation, and I saw how my mind goes round and round this situation. When I got some messages from one or from two of them, I couldn't give an answer immediately. I couldn't find necessary words or answer, and I need some time. And my mind was always clank on this situation, always was round and round this before I decide how to answer. So I see that I was so much involved in it, and sometimes I couldn't find myself because I always was in these things and emotions, and I asked myself, where am I? And and I saw how deep I am in this thinking. So it's not so easy. I saw how it's not easy to be here, to be here now. I couldn't find this.
Right. Sometimes it seems very, very difficult. And then other times it seems very easy. It comes all by itself. All we can do is practice. Even if it's difficult, ultimately it's not a matter of easy or difficult. It's just a question whether we are at all attempting to be consciously connected. Then of course the old habits, situations will take over and we completely forget for some time. And even then, when you are in the midst of it and you remember, it may not be easy to keep that awareness. But attempting it, that's all we can do. How much you are in that situation, successful or not, doesn't really lay in your hands. Whether you are attempting to do so or not, that does lie in your hands. And if we keep on trying again and again, even when it seems difficult, then gradually it becomes easier. And eventually the point will come, all those things that looked so difficult become simple and easy.
Yes, I hope.
Definitely.
Yes, okay, I believe you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Victor.
How are you?
Quite fine.
Interesting.
Sitting on my roof, and it's quite pleasant. It's not more so hot.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's nice. It's getting warmer here now.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, some things have been triggered hearing about grace.
Yes.
I recall when I was reading Ramana, I remember Ramana saying that, if I'm correct, he said grace is always present. It's always here.
Yes.
It's not like something that's in the sky or is going to come or is going to appear. I think he said it's like the Guru. It's inside the heart. It's here already.
Yes.
It's like the self. It's the self is not something you find. It's here already. That's what I recall reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I'm not into pursuit. For me, pursuit is living in the future. I don't like that. So, and what I've been finding out as a consequence is, in some of the practices and so on, because I don't pursue anything. My experience is, and this is to do with grace as well. For me, everything is really what I find in my experience is it's just peeling off layers. Some of these layers are like Velcro, and it's like
they are sticky. Huh?
I know, if I clean my bike and I get this grease and it takes ages to peel it off, or whatever. But I find my experience is just basically it's shedding off layers almost.
Yes.
I mean, that's how can I can express it sort of visually, or at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, with what Ramana was saying, and because it's within, for me, it's, basically, I think what Ramana was saying is, when you connect to when you go back into the source, he always says you get back to the source, then grace is just going to gush out. What are your thoughts on that matter? Because I'm into peeling off layers, right? And so not that I'm pursuing getting to the source by peeling off every layer. I don't think that's possible either. But grace is always present. It's already inside. It's here.
Right. The very fact that you keep on peeling off layers is already a manifestation of that grace.
Yes.
And
well, people tell me.
As soon as you talk about grace, you use metaphors. So it's also a metaphor that Ramana uses. You go to the source, and then it's gushing out.
That's what I think.
The very fact that you go to the source is already a manifestation of that grace. And then it can suddenly manifest in an intense way, and there is absolutely no rule about it. There is nothing that can be done about it. It's nothing that can somehow force it or do something. But the very just what you call peeling of the layers is the invitation. It's a manifestation of grace, and it's the invitation of greater grace.
Yeah, because you never know how it's going to come. Because I think I shared with you when I nearly got killed by that bus in Tiro, right?
Yes.
And they said to me, that was the grace of Arunachala.
Yeah.
And so how it comes is how grace comes is not necessarily how we like things to ideally happen. What
not always,
an act of grace is, not always. but I accept that. I accept. I mean, I had that experience in Tiru, which was very powerful for me. And so I accept that grace can come in any form. And so I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. But I mean, I was interested because, you know, with how Ramana was describing it, it makes sense with, you know, the self, the guru, God, everything is already in here. It's just like, and so I try not to think about it intellectually too much, just through the experience. But I just wanted to hear your feedback on this idea of how Ramana was describing grace. It's already here, you know.
Anandamai has another nice metaphor how to deal with grace.
Oh yes.
She says, grace is like the rain, and you want to catch the rain. Then you can catch it with a very tiny vessel, and you get very little of it. Or you can catch it with a bigger vessel, you get more of it. Or you can catch it with even a bigger vessel, and you get even more of it. But you can also hold your vessel upside down. Everything flows.
That's right.
I mean, you never have to take these metaphors too literally. It wants to convey an impression that, and our sincerity, what you call peeling off the layers, what I often call just learn to connect. That sincerity is making our vessel bigger, that is holding that grace.
I know. Well, you know, following on that line, I mean, if you get a really, really big vessel and it gets full of rain, then you can't carry it.
But you can swim in
You can't handle it anymore. You can't handle it.
You can swim in the grace.
Yes, you can. That's a good one. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Anyway, thank you very much, Werner. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Yo.
There you go.
Anybody else who would like to come? Please come. Hello.
Oops.
Is it Helen? No. Are you trying to come in?
Yes, I'm trying to come in. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
You can
there
hear
you
me.
are.
Yes. Hi, Werner. Good
Hi,
to see
Helen.
you. Yeah. It's kind of my question's half answered about when you spoke about faith.
Yes.
At the moment, I have a chance of having a place to myself.
Oh.
So I decided to be in retreat for a few days. And yesterday I was meditating as my opportunity to go in, and I was circular breathing, like breathing in the root, breathing out at the heart. And then I focused the third eye, and there was, it felt like physically, energetically, a lot of energy in the third eye. And then it felt like a certain expansion, which I panicked about a little, and I focused back on my heart, and then felt nausea. I woke up this morning sneezing with a nosebleed, and I sort of realized that I'd kind of overdone it, and I felt very connected and spaced out. But when you spoke about faith, I actually realized I have it. That there wasn't this burning question to ask you about the meditation. It was just.
You're asking. You said first you have overdone it, but now when you think about faith, then you think it's all right, or I'm not quite getting the point right now.
Yeah, I'm realizing everything is as it should be.
Right.
That okay, you know, maybe I was supposed to pull back from the experience, that maybe my body couldn't, maybe my brain couldn't take it, or something like this. And there's a reason. And yeah, and faith. And like suddenly I feel like there's something immovable there.
Right. Now I got it now. Right. Yes, you can develop something like original faith, like a faith in the universe, in faith in God, that ultimately everything makes sense. Ultimately is everything is at the right point at the right time. And is happening as it's supposed to happen. If you can develop that faith, then things are getting easier. Still, we are being given a little bit of a possibility to play along, to have our little say in the play. And so, if such an experience happens, and after that suddenly you feel a bit funny about it, you can accept, okay, now just cool a little down. let the psychophysical manifestation recover, and then you can gently go about it again. That's the way to go, not to think, oh, maybe I should push more to get out on the other end.
Yeah.
And of course, certain intense experiences may strain a bit the nervous system. And each time something like this happens, the nervous system is getting a bit stronger, but it's also that in between it needs to take a rest again. Yeah.
Yeah. In your time of meditation, did you feel you had to also take breaks, like when you had headaches, and when you had like, you know, messages? I mean, if it was a message, really.
Well, I had a lot, especially in the early years, before I was in the cave already. When I was in the beginning with Amma, I started to sit as much as I could. And I desperately wanted to bang open the door or something. And there, my body was burning. And I had a lot of pains, but that didn't really slow me down. Except one thing, then I had also pimples all over the body. It was like the heat was doing something. I had pimples all over the body, but then they were also coming in the ears. I had boils in the ears, and they were so horribly painful that I had to listen. Now, so actually after that, for years, this was a bit like the safety valve. If my ears started to pain too much, then there I had to slow down somewhere. Because there I was not more capable to just endure it, because the pain in the ears was so strong. Oh, is my, I think my battery is, just have to check it quickly. Oh no, it's, but right. It just started to become dim here. Yeah. Now I make the big picture. Now we are again big in my computer.
Yeah.
That when the pain was so much, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was difficult to sleep I couldn't lay down because it was too painful. I hardly could eat because the movement of the mouth was so painful. So there I had to accept, okay, here I have to listen. So it was a bit like for years, this was, if the ears were getting too bad, then it was clear I'm pushing too much.
Yeah.
But somehow that was my way. My way was pushing. I couldn't go about it in any other way. And I wouldn't recommend this as a general approach. It's a painful business. But if you can't do it in any other way, then go like this and fight and fight and fight. Actually, in the end, you're losing. But it doesn't have to be like this. And if you read the signs, then you can also go about it gentler. That doesn't mean you have to be less sincere about connecting. But you can also relax and be gentle about it. And if you feel it was getting too much, then you can sit also a bit less and just push less. At the same time, still connect and relax.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Everybody has to figure out for themselves how much is okay to push a little and how much it becomes unhealthy.
Yes, it feels like a kind of balance, because I do have this intensity, because I'm very comfortable with the heart, but
Yeah.
the third eye is a new experience for me.
Yeah.
And there is a part of me that wants to push.
Yeah.
Like when I watch TV, if I watch a series, I will binge. Means I will watch each episode. And I feel that like I would have this tendency to binge, to sort of not escape the expansion or whatever is happening, but to go in it more and more. But there's also some kind of indication in the heart that it's like stop it now, you know. So yeah, yeah.
Listen to your heart. That's a good way. Yeah.
It's coming clear. Thank you.
Good, great.
Yeah. Always good to speak to you, Werner. Thank you. Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? We can continue a little more time if we want to.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have nowadays a lot of when you last Satsang were talking about the situation.
Sorry, Rebecca, you're breaking up. I cannot follow all that you're saying.
Could you hear me?
I could hear some of it, and then it was breaking on some of it, so I couldn't quite exactly follow.
Okay. I'm going to try to just one moment. Can you hear me now better?
Right now, yes. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to ask you, because I'm having a lot of struggle with when last Satsang you were talking about the global situation and to keep present, and it's okay, we can help someone just to help them. But on the other hand, I have the feeling that when you are looking some kind of injustice or something that maybe it's my opinion that you think that is not going well or it's wrong, how to act how to act without being, I mean, being present. No, I have the feeling it's like the message in the Bhagavad Gita that sometimes you have to fight.
Sometimes you have to fight. It depends. I mean,
Yeah.
if you confronting personally a situation and you think there is no justice there, and you feel it's the right thing to do, to go and fight and do something about it, then it's the right thing to go and do and fight. But you don't have to somehow worry about the whole world and all the injustices that are happening in the world, because if you do that, all you are adding is more worries. But if there is a situation where you feel you are asked for to act, then act, right? Then you do that which you feel is right.
Yeah.
You may be able to improve the situation. You may be able to improve the unjust situation, but you may not. But then you have to try. That's right. If you feel like that. But it's not that we have to now be in our home and worry about all the injustices that are happening in the world. Like that, we are not benefiting ourselves, and we are not benefiting the people who are unjustly treated, and we are not benefiting anybody. If you can see negative things in the world, but in spite of that, you can connect, and maybe you can send light and love there. But even if you don't consciously, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but there is a lot of noise on my back, so I'm just going to another place. I can hear you better.
Yeah, good. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
If you see negative situations, if you hear negative news about some things that are going on in the world, if you see catastrophes and people suffering, but in spite of that, you can connect with the now, you can connect with your being, then actually you can connect with those beings who are in those unpleasant situations. And so you can send them light, you can send them love, and then you are benefiting and they are benefiting. But if we are sitting in our home and worrying about the injustices in the world, then all we are adding is more negativity in this space. But if you, in person, in flesh and blood, confront a situation and you see, here, right here, there is something totally unjust, and you feel the call that you should do something about it, and you feel that's right, then by all means do something about it. I'm not discouraging you from doing that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go around and look for unjust situations where you could do something.
No, I don't want to do that. Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, actually, I had that feeling, no, that I haven't had for many years, but I'm starting to having that feeling now again. And sometimes when you talk with some people, it's like when you're like in a kind of a spiritual path, no, you just accept things as they are. But I think that at some point, sometimes we have to do something now, and I think that now is one of the situations. But at the same time, I think I have also should I also observe my emotions? I mean, I try when I act, I try not to imply myself emotionally, no? So
yes,
try that there is no anger, there is no, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to do that.
right.
So
There may be some anger coming, as long as you can see it, as long as you can observe it. It may be even a useful tool in the situation that you can use. But if you get blown away, if you get overwhelmed, then actually suddenly you are not more interested in the good of the situation, but in your idea being manifest. Then the me, self-important thing becomes suddenly more important than the basic good cause that brought you there.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
You won't be without emotions. Emotions can be used then as tools to, emotions are power. And sometimes you have to bring some power in a situation. But if you lose it, then actually then you have also lost the reason why you think you should do something about it, and suddenly take your own position and your own role you're playing in it too important, and reacting to that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Werner.
Wish you luck. Wish you well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Well, I think maybe for today we're slowly stopping. So, except if somebody is there who really quickly wants to put a question now. It seems not to be the case. So I'm going to turn off the recording and ending the official satsang for today.